This year is the cathedral birthday. It is celebrating its 200 years. But do you know anything about it? So come on and find out its history and beauty.
Yeah. Antigua stayed as we see it now. In 1776, they decided to transpose the capital here. In the year of 1782, on June 25th of 1782, the cathedral was built. In 1715, the cathedral was blessed and the things you can see were already there. All is related with the plant too. Only the steeples were missing and the dome was smaller than this one. This was blessed on March 16th. I really don't remember right now. In March 16, 25, the cathedral was consecrated. The cathedral has a classic design, has a right plant, a left one, and a central plant. Has 14 small chapels and 2 large chapels, the Blessed Sacrament Chapel and the Chapel of Relief. Has a Latin cross, that are both chapels. Where is the Blessed Sacrament Chapel and the Chapel of Relief? There we are going to go through where it's holy, a very private place, because it is holy. And you can find the custody, which is silver, brought the November 13th from 1923. That it was donated to here to the cathedral. Because only here in Guatemala, popular piety is celebrated. That is not held in any other country. Something that is all the months over here. The relief chapel is where the one to hold the Virgin suckling the baby Jesus. This image entered Guatemala with Pedro de Alvarado in 1524, and before the Virgin Mass was celebrated 1 July 25 from 1524. There are images that came from the old capital, the cathedral from Antigua, but not all of them has incorporated. For example, the one over there, the Miracles medal, they have it, but as they sent to do a new one, send her over here. Yeah, that's right. Send her over here. In cathedral are 3 monumental images. The Miracles medal, first, Lord of Esquipulas, the Virgin of Relief, and Miracles medal. Why is that there are not saints? Only this one, San Pedro, right? Yeah, the San Pedro is over here. But why is there no more saints in the cathedral? Well, because in the chapels are the image of saints. There are saints who are still known from Guatemala, but they are there. That's something strange, right? In the chapels, as I repeat them, there are images, some of which we'll still see later. The Virgin of Relief is between the Conquering Virgin and the Virgin of radial that and the radial Virgin that in May is the month of celebration that in the Antigua Guatemala was celebrated by indigenous praying for rain and trying to make rain all the month. As we know, in May is the month that rains a lot, and they think that she will talk.
After hearing some of the history of the cathedral, we will look inside of it. Let's start our tour in the historic center. The cathedral is located in the orient of the Plaza of the Constitution, taking the front of the National Palace of Culture and behind the Trade Portal. The complex consists of three buildings: the cathedral in the center, the Palacio Arzobispal in the north, and the College of Infantes in the south. It is the only block of the historic center which remains intact for 200 years. The frontispiece of the cathedral faces east and is made of pale stone, carved in a neoclassical style. Above the front door is a sculpture carved in stone of Saint James the Greater, patron of the archdiocese. It is seen in the columns surrounding the front courtyard marble plaques containing the names of victims of the armed conflict of Guatemala. After entering the front door, you will see two revalance parts, which are the nave and the aisles. Not only are there two symmetrical buildings, there are other three. The first one is the central nave. It is supported by 9 pairs of rectangular columns and has a shape of barrel vaulted. Each column has medallions built of yellow wood and 14 paintings representing the scenes from the life of the Virgin Mary, works made by the Mexican artist Pedro Ramirez. Also, on the right side is the gilded pulpits, and hanging from the ceiling are there the crystal chandeliers. There are distributed large windows for the purpose of exquisite lighting by sunlight and avoid the dark. God is light and in him is no darkness. Under the greatest dome is situated the greatest altar and the canopy. The greatest altar and the canopy are made with Carrara marble and onyx, and brought from Europe. The altar is located right in the center of the Latin cross, the shape of the old cathedral. The canopy is a dome crowned by a bronze cross, supported by columns made of onyx. Under the altar, the relics of St. James, already mentioned, is located. Hanging in front of the altar is the silver lamp, extraordinary example of Guatemala jewelry.
We donate a piece of marble to the Bishop Arellano that came from Italy. It was taken to Mexico, where it was carved and made it figures. In 1973, it was translated here. It's a copy from San Pedro's Vatican Chapel that is 3 meters taller.
Behind the altar is the choir of the canons, where the liturgy of the hours was prayed. It consists of a concerto settings and a lectern brought from the Philippines, and an image of Our Lady of the Assumption. At the top of the entrance stands the biggest organ.
The origins are German, because during the Second World War, the Germans invaded all the churches. In Guatemala we have this one. There is another in Mexico, and the last in North America. And it is still working. You see, it has 3,336 spikes.
The dome has an elliptical base with 16 large windows and 16 small windows. In exterior, it is decorated by blue plates and topped by a cross. At its base, it is ornamented by the four evangelists with their symbols: Matthew, John, Luke, and Mark. Let's continue our tour. After the centennial are two pairs of aisles, the processional and chapels. The processional naves surround the cathedral and are generally used for internal processions. External naves are where the holy shrines are located.
Many people didn't come to the church in that time. When it was the day of Saint Santiago, people first celebrated Mass and then kneel before him and pray. The legend says that where people knelt, the stone was very much because there was no floor. So the richest family of the community decided to fix it. If you look at all the chapels, the floor is different because each family donates what they could do. So the legend. The day 8 leads the procession of San Francisco, and the 9th the procession of La Chia. It's one of the most recognized processions in Guatemala.
To the right of the altar is the Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament, where the consecrated bread is served, along with four small altars more. On the left is the Chapel of Our Lady of Socorro, whose image is the oldest in the country. The oldest year is known in 1524. Under this altar is an urn where two martyrs, San Victor and San Victoriano, are in flesh.
Annually for the celebration of 1st and 2nd of November, All Saints' Day, and All Souls' Doors, popularly called catacombs of the great Metropolitan Cathedral of Guatemala City, are opened. Currently, also are being allowed to entry on April 26 because of the anniversary of the murder of Bishop Juan Gerardo. There are three different incomes to the crypt, each carrying different names, depending on your location and who are buried there. In the crypt of Pantheon of the bishops are buried most of the church officials, and the location is right under the chapter room. That is under the chamber of Venerable Ecclesiastical Cabildo Metropolitano. In the crypt are buried two archbishops, Juan Félix de Villegas and Rafael de la Vara del Madrid, as the bishops Julián Rodríguez Manuel Barroso, Francisco Manuel Barrutia Crocker, and his brother José María Barrutia Crocker. Also, prelates of the Metropolitan Council, 6 priests who are rectors of the University of San Carlos, and other churches. Here is the oldest tomb in the Canon Antonio Alonso Cortés. In the burials under the central nave are two prominent bishops of the 20th century, Bishop Luis Duroux and Sure, originals of France, and the beloved and the remembered Cardinal Mario Casariego and Acevedo. There are also the remains of other prelates as Dr. Palacios de Francisco Espinosa and his brother Cecilio Manuel Espinosa de Palacios. The canons Pedro Garcia and Manuel González. Finally, you can see the tomb of Dr. Gonzalo de la Cerda Alejos. In the crypt of the sacristy, two archbishops are buried, Bishop Luis Javier Muñoz and Capuro, and below the recently decreased Archbishop Próspero Penaos del Barrio. There are also several auxiliary bishops of the Archdiocese, Archbishop José Rafael González Estrada and Bishop Luis Mario Martínez Lejarza. In the crypt under the epistle are the remains of José María Batres Nájera, There is also the tomb of the President Jose Maria Reina Barrios. Also here are the remains of several relatives of Monos Casanova, as well as the tombs of Francisco Gabarrete clerk and archivist of the Curia Jos Gabarrete. Finally, here there are also the remains of several prelates as well as live President Rafael Carrera and Field Marshal Sarpio Cruz. The crypt of the Chapel of the Virgen del Socorro, Chapel of the Immaculate Conception and St. James, the crypt of Chapel of Sharon and the crypt of Chapel of Sacristy are all connected by three large arches that run parallel and under the processional aisles and hallways of the temple. That is a legend of many. These are things that have been said before. For example, the crypt. One lady who came out in the press told of losing his girl, who appeared in the next 8 days. That's a lie, because it really did not happen. I have gone there and never frightened me, even on nights when we took the walk at 8 p.m. It is quite large because it is the half of the cathedral. When they built the cathedral, if you look at the 7th and 8th Avenue are down, as in those days was very difficult to accommodate the city. So they had to do the groundwork to the cathedral and the crypt, because the cemetery was placed where now is the central market. At the cemetery, they were not going to build the cathedral alongside the cemetery. So, in 1835, he was transferred. The city was growing because when they built those days, the people of the capital were only 300. There were very few. As the city grew, they moved. Then, in 1880, when Justo Rufino Barrios moved away from the city to put in the edge of the town. And now we have it here, so we can see that they did not think well where to use the center.
The cathedral has a total of 10 bells, 3 of them on the right tower bell and 6 on the left. The most important is the Chapona bell, mounted in 1871 with bronze cannons of Fort St. Joseph.
The visit to the Museum of Archdiocese of Santiago is an encounter with the expressions and manifestations of the Catholic faith. There are three important aspects highlighted in the museum: the historical, aesthetic or artistic, and theological. You can find different halls at the museum. One of them is San Jose de los Infantes School Hall. The diorama of the Archbishop Cayetano Franco's Almonroy office recreates furniture and period pieces. It also contains documents, ornaments, and other objects related to San Jose de los Infantes School that he found in the new capital in 1781. The founding of the college and other items show us how the past perpetuates in the present, because the school still continues serving to the education of young people in the country. Another hall is the Hall of Jesus. The exhibited objects represent to us the figure of Jesus since his birth to the mystery of his death and resurrection. A sculpture of Jesus' child exhibits the image juxtaposed childhood and the Passion of Jesus, which occurred many years later, thereby making an institution. Some sculptures and paintings show him crucified with the face of someone who has transcended death. The biggest hall in the museum is the hall of the church. The objects exhibited here speak about render God, especially during the celebration of the Eucharist or Holy Mass. Most of the pieces and jewelry were manufactured and developed to highlight the dignity and sanctity of the celebration. The Church understands that the worship that takes place on earth is a reflection of the saints in heaven that God taxed. Therefore, the walls in this room are decorated with paintings of angels and saints. The saints symbolize the Christian goal. The bishops' and archbishops' paintings evoke the sacredness of his ministry. The great showcase to income is playing an altar with various silver objects, chalices, patens, and others, which were used in the traditional altar tables, were designed to contain the wine and bread, which the consecrate become blood and body of Christ in the Holy Eucharist. You can also see a monstrance, lecterns, bats and sprinklers, swabs, censers and shuttles, bells, crowns, and other objects. Guatemalan Catholic Church is characterized by its deep Eucharist devotion, so you can admire some objects used in the processions, like candlesticks, lanterns, the rods that hold the canopy that shelters the priest carrying the blessed sacraments, and other objects. There's another hall, and it's the Hall of the Virgin Mary. Mary enjoys special veneration in the Church from the very origins of the Christian faith. The last hall is the temporary exhibition hall. If you want to know about the Catholic faith, you should visit this museum.
Well, that's all you need to know about our cathedral. Thanks for watching.